The weeping lasted all night. I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day. I know there has got to be another way, and I'm brighter day, so I march on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pure Live. We have another awesome show for you today. Today we are talking about married people. Doesn't mean that you non-married people won't enjoy this show, because the couple that I am bringing on is funny, awesome, full of personality, and you are going to enjoy this. Who I have with us today is Drs. Aaron and Margaret Jamal.
Yes.
Stars of I Do Me Too. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, just to let you guys know out there, if you hear it, my block is still celebrating the 4th of July, and it is the 10th. That is
That's
how
right.
we do over here. You're going to hear fireworks, booms, and whatever.
I'm glad it's fireworks.
And that's true, as opposed to other things. And it's going to be that way probably for the rest of the year, because that's how special they are. So anyway, we're going to talk about some very interesting topics today, things that I feel like aren't normally talked about with married couples. So let's dig in. First of all, Drs. Aaron and Margaret Jamal. Well, we can go ahead and state the obvious. We are kin. That's my family.
Indeed.
These are my parents.
Yes.
Do you see the family?
This is
If
my
you don't,
princess.
it's okay. You hear that?
She's the princess. But I'm the queen.
You are undisputed. So so there's that. And so they are the founders of I Do Me Too.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Me too. That's coming in agreement.
Whoop, there it is. So Drs. Aaron and Margaret Jamal, what I would like you to do is talk to us and tell us why you created I Do Me Too.
That's a good question. You want to start?
I can. I do believe there's such a incredible need, not just in today's time, but in general. There has been, I guess, a mystery when it comes to the relationship, what we call marriage. The reality of the perfect marriage or whatever is that it is embedded with challenges that are going to happen. It happens regardless of whether or not you're married or single. Mm-hmm. But it becomes more complicated with the marital structure, primarily because of how naked you become to your partner in the marital structure. Mm-hmm. You see everything. And in being exposed like that, it is love that helps you to not only become accepting of those things it is that you're exposed in, but it also helps you to see how you can be supportive to one another. And so there is a challenge, if you will, of finding the ways to talk about the things that you're exposed about, as far as being naked and unashamed. Communication is huge. I don't think there is any such thing as a successful, happy marriage without great communication. That's huge. And so sometimes people need a little guidance with regard to how do we find those ways of communicating with each other when things don't go as we had hoped.
Well, the other thing about I Do Me Too is dealing with, even like the scriptures talk about submitting to one to another. And that idea, that, message of submission, it doesn't mean that you bow down or you do what someone tells you to do. It's not being obedient. It's actually coming in agreement with.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we have found that's helped our marriage over the years is that we find those areas that we can, where we can agree. We don't agree with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do get to the point of agreement, we're able to move forward. We are able to accomplish things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we realize that it's I do, me too. I mean, I do. I'm on board with this. How do you feel about it? Me too. And so even the term "me too" is not me necessarily. It's like a play on words. It's not just me TOO, but it's me too, where two become one. You get that? You see what I'm saying? I do. Me too. Okay.
I never thought about that piece.
See?
Okay, so let me ask you. Ain't trying to start anything.
Come on.
I don't know why I
Come
know
on
that
with
anything.
it. Start it.
How long have you guys been married?
Let's see. You know.
If I know. It was before you were born, and after Gina was born.
Somewhere in between there, huh?
Yeah, and we were both there, and it was back in 19. I never will forget that. It was 19.
It's been 38 years.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, all right. Thank you for getting that out.
All right. See, there you go.
38 years. Is this the 39th year?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We'll get to yes. Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Looky here.
I would say the journey, because it is a journey, has been one that's not only been entertaining and enjoyable, challenging. It's also provided so much opportunity for us to see. Marriage is multidimensional, and so we begin to learn and discover things about each other on this journey that we didn't know about before, right? And so I would say, and I mean both of us, not only finding out about her, but finding out about myself, because the truth of the matter is that we impact one another and bring out things in one another that we didn't even know was there, right?
Yes.
And so, thanks so much, right?
Hi.
Okay, and it is awesome that we have the communication skills to have meaningful, in-depth exchanges. I call them exchanges because discord doesn't necessarily mean distrust or mean that there is a problem. Sometimes it is in the midst of your discord that you find something really beautiful, contrast, if you will. I appreciate the fact that we're not going to always agree on everything and see everything exactly the same way. But those different perspectives are also valuable in us learning about how we can approach this journey together. Life sometimes is very, very scary, adventurous, to put it lightly. But the fact that we have each other means that we don't have to face it alone. And then when we express we find the really exciting things that we enjoy the most, we can share them in a way that is so much richer to one another because we know each other that much better.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that just because you've been married for a long time, that you have to necessarily get tired of each other. But what we found is that what we have to learn how to do is explore the changes in each other. Continuously, I continue to study him. Right? Take notes, and I even give myself exams and quizzes. I'm just kidding. I do that. But one of the things we do is we do have discussions, and we allow ourselves to learn from each other. I think that one of the most dangerous things that a couple can do, or any one of the spouses can do, is say, "I know that person like a book," and you assume you know that person. And then you're really surprised when somebody tells you something different. Well, why aren't you like that? And then just kind of dismiss it and put it on the side. But what I did, I started doing, I was like, wait a minute. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about him. Huh. Why would he share
Still
that with
learning.
somebody else and not with me?
Ooh.
Right? And
Okay.
so I realized that in a marriage, you are multidimensional. It's like no matter how much I think I know him, every day he's changing. Life is changing. And the only way that I'll get to know how he's changing is if we have some sort of open dialogue, some sort of open exchange, right? And I think that's really what happens with many couples. They think status quo, same old, because they haven't taken the time to actually explore their partner.
Okay. Well, so let me speaking of problems and communication and issues and all of that, it has been said that during this time period and dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, that the divorce rate has gone up. So do you have any insight as to why that may be? And let's just start there.
Sure.
What do you think is going on?
Well, let me just say this about the COVID-19. COVID-19, I believe, has caused people to stand still and take a magnifying glass to things that they don't necessarily understand. They're still exploring. And so there's some things that are exaggerated, if you will, right now. And I'm speaking of relationships. I'm speaking of the circumstances. Things are evolving constantly. The divorce scenario, I think, is happening because so many people are either overreacting to what it is that is happening or having a very difficult time coping with the amount of emotion that's in the air. I mean, we're over 3 million people affected by this thing in the United States. Besides that, you've got over 130,000 people that have died. Okay, so when you think about those numbers and the impact of all the families associated with those numbers, that alone brings a great deal of emotion to it. When you couple that with unemployment, which is an incredibly difficult stressor, if you will, to put to the situation. Now, let me add this to what you were talking about with people divorcing. You also have an incredibly high rate of people facing foreclosure. Foreclosure is a scenario where you're losing your home, your foundation. And if it is that you're stressed, concerned, worried about, am I going to lose my home in the midst of this? But you don't have the coping mechanism, the communication skills, the guidance. And then I'm going to go here. You don't have the friends of your marriage to help you through it. Then, yeah, you're going to wind up with believing you don't have any alternatives to what it is that you're faced with. And so you draw conclusions that being apart from one another permanently might be better.
I think not only is it just being apart from one another, but I think that in this COVID-19 situation, that people are having a hard time being around anyone.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to sustain a relationship. They don't want the accountability, if you were. They don't want to even put in the work of having to be nice, of having to speak with somebody, of having to explain the fears that they have regarding everything that's going on. This situation is, I really believe, is bringing out the worst in people as far as attitudes are concerned. And you don't want to constantly be accountable for your attitude. And so it just seems easier to distance yourself from people in general. Well, when you're married, how do you distance yourself from a spouse, someone that you live with constantly? And the other thing is, as he had mentioned, now you have the stressor of not having a job, not knowing where your food is coming from, not knowing how to live. And you as partners are looking at each other for answers, right? And we haven't gotten to the point of being able to say to each other, I just don't know. But let us, journey through this thing together. My husband had mentioned earlier, naked. This has made people just laid bare. And rather than allow your spouse to see you that way and to maybe even use this newfound nakedness against you, people are separating.
And under your
flags. Yes.
Has it been challenging for you guys in dealing with the COVID-19? Are you experiencing extra challenges that you haven't dealt with before?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, not quite like this, but go ahead. You want to start?
I don't
think
believe
we-
COVID-19 has caused stresses or problems for us. One, we work really well together. I mean, the truth of the matter is that our best is when we're together, not when we're apart. And so that's not a stressor for us at all. We've been blessed enough that in the vocations that we have, we're essential workers. And so because of that, we've been able to maintain an income. So we're not the norm in terms of the way it is that things have impacted others. We enjoy, she's not just my girl. I mean, she's my best friend. I have fun with her. She has fun with me. We have these opportunities, if you will, to be a blessing unto others. Now, the antidote to this thing of actually having a bunch of stressors, working through things, is helping somebody else through their thing so that you're not caught up into, which is probably the most destructive thing that you can do with a couple that is under stress, blame. Blame brings shame. Both of those are negatives that will tear a relationship apart. Okay. COVID-19 is no one's fault in terms of what it is. I mean, it's something that we're all dealing with and finding out about and finding out ways to help one another in the midst of it. But pointing the finger doesn't help anyone. Even those it is that are sick don't need you to be pointing fingers at one another. We need to find ways of helping others who are struggling with this. If we do that, we're going to be better off.
I think he brought up a very good point too, is that I believe contributes to the divorce, and that's sickness.
Yes.
You know, there are so many couples that are like, they are afraid of not only themselves being sick, but also their partners being sick. They're like, I don't know how to be a caregiver, you know, and so that adds more stress. Speaking of which, you talked about how we were coping. You know, I have my own issues. And one of the things that happened with me is imagining, because, you know, I'm like, I go to the worst case scenario. That's just what I do. And I'm imagining, oh man, I don't want him to have to take care of me. You know, I'm imagining what it would be like if I'm like in the hospital somewhere and I don't want him to come see me because I don't want him to get sick. At the same time, I'm thinking he's going to miss me. I need to be there to take care of him. So it's those things going through your head during this time that can make it kind of difficult. I remember one day he was, let's see, what were we doing? I forgot what it was. I had to do something. And we were working on something. And it just wasn't doing right. Right. And I forget what it was, but all of a sudden it's like, I just started crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this or whatever. I don't know what I said, but I just started crying. I just broke down and started crying. And he said, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just, can I just not tell you? Because I don't know. But I needed to get it out. I didn't need him to fix it. Maybe if he could have, that probably would have been okay. But that's what I'm saying. That's the type of partner you need. It's the type of partner that will let you process whatever it is that you're going through. Sometimes during this COVID-19, even though we're working, sometimes we get up. I'll tell you the truth, Asia. I might look kind of cute right now, right? All shaved. But sometimes we get up in the morning and I don't feel like it. I know I'm going to do what I do. We're doing it remotely. And I'm like, they don't know what I look like, but he does. He knows what I look like. He knows what I smell like. And sometimes I'm like, oh, man. I don't have it, but I need to do it to save our marriage. You know what I'm saying? And those are the things, making me feel a little insecure. And you very well know that I'm not Betty Crocker or, any of whoever it is, as far as housekeeping is concerned. And we're just, we're realizing that we actually love each other, but sometimes it gets hard. sometimes it's like to the point that we don't feel like, well, I don't know. This is what I'm saying. Right? She said, cut it out, Shay.
Right.
That's right. You gotta get the tweezers.
So there's something that you guys touched on, which I think that'll lead to one of the things that I wanted us to talk about, which is that support about friends of your marriage. Can you explain what that means? What does it mean to be friends of your marriage?
Great question. One of the things it is, we've served a ministry together, and one of the things it is that we've done is that we've married couples, and as part of the ceremony, one of the things it is that I would bring out in the ceremony is that there were witnesses that were there. Those witnesses were not only witnessing the vows, but they were also witnesses along this journey that should be a support unto them, because trouble will come. It may not last always, but trouble will come. Okay. Now, having said that trouble will come, surrounding yourself with people that can be not only a reminder of the vows, but help, like you said, facing those times when you feel insecure or unsure, uncertain. It's awesome when you have somebody that can help walk you through this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have all the answers, but they can help you to walk through the mystery, if you will, without feeling discouraged, or at least feeling like throwing in the towel. If you do throw in the towel, you get over it, because they're going to help you get over it. They're like, you ain't going nowhere. I don't want to see you with nobody else at all. This is it. Okay. So we're going to talk this thing through and help you get better. Okay. Because the reality of it is that person over there, the better person that you want is in that person that you have over there. Okay. And so the friends of your marriage is a great support system that we believe would not only help couples to live a more fulfilling life, but would definitely offset those that have been convinced there's no help for them that's going to keep them together. I believe friends of your marriage can offset that. And
the other thing is that what I believe happens is that friends of your marriage help you to hold each other accountable. So, sometimes we might be upset with each other. If I believe that one of the main reasons that people, when they divorce, they have somebody else on the side that's in their ear about why they shouldn't be married. They're taking the side of the other spouse. And a friend of your marriage, if we get in an argument, my friend is going to say, I want you both together. A friend of your marriage likes you two together more than they like you apart. And so what we think is that in order for marriages to sustain, we need to begin to build communities of people that are going to be supportive of your marriage. And so sometimes we don't even know how to be friends. We don't even know how to be friends in our marriage, let alone be friends of somebody else's marriage. And so that's where you start. And the reality of it is that when people divorce, they have invited enemies of their marriage into their relationship. So you want to turn that around. Just imagine if you had communities of people who were alongside of you, said you promised that you were going to be together till death do you part, right? You promised, and you're trying to leave, and we're going to hold us up for, with that promise. Let me tell you a situation that really happened. A young lady, I actually met her. I was registering for school, and we talked for a long time. And she was trying to, get me to go to the school. And I was telling her that we were, marriage coaches, and was telling her about I'll do me too and everything. And she shared something about her husband and how they were having an issue because her husband had an affair, right? Was seeing another woman, and that the woman was still around in their lives. And I was saying to her, this is what I believe as far as friends of your marriage are concerned. What friends of your marriage would do to me, like if he thought he wanted to have an affair, right? What we would do, our friends, we would go find out where he is. We would park out. We would make sure that she's very uncomfortable, knowing that he's not going to be all alone. Where he goes, we goes. And I'm not just talking about me. You make it hard for that woman to take your man. I'm just saying. This was an investment made. So friends of your marriage say, no, you're not doing that. You're not messing up that relationship. We're not, to me, people give up too easily on their relationships. They're like, oh, you don't love me anymore. I realized that if he decided that he wanted to mess around, he's temporarily insane. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to treat him like he has a sickness.
Okay.
Right?
Such just crazy right now.
Okay. It doesn't make sense, right? Okay.
Right.
All I'm saying is I've invested too much in this relationship to just let it easily go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so what your marriage are, what friends of your marriage is about really, and I know you're laughing, but I'm serious. If that's happening and it's one of our friends, it's like, do you want to do this? Yes. So where are they? Where does this woman live? What is going on with them? Do not make it comfortable. Do not make it easy for people to wreck your marriage. That's what.
Okay. So how do you spot somebody that is not a friend of your marriage?
Well, you say spot somebody who's not. If it is that you have somebody who is agreeing with your misery by amening your negative comments about that's not a friend of your marriage.
Nope.
At all. The truth of the matter is that good friends, they don't want to wind up being part of the asset split that happens in a divorce. Mm-hmm. Like who gets the home, who gets the dog, who gets the kids. Friends of your marriage, they don't want to be part of that at all.
Who gets the friend?
Yes, but it's really an issue. It really is. It's like, are you going to be my friend or his friend now that we've divorced? Okay, because it's difficult to be friends of you both. Especially if it is that you're taking on other people and you're seeing that the other one is miserable and things like that. Friends of your marriage don't want to go through that anyway. Okay.
Friends of your marriage would say, if I come to you or you come to me and you say, I am really upset with him. Friends of your marriage will help you to look at yourself and say, what is your part in this? What do you really want to happen in the end? Don't you want to still stay married? And I'm not saying that it necessarily has to be those words, but help you to think things through and help keep you from reacting. Enemies of your marriage will say, you're right. You're right, girl. He's no good. Did he do that? You're not going back to him, are you? I mean, you need to make him pay. You need to tell him. Don't let him get away with that. That's an enemy of your marriage. That's someone who is helping you to not be at peace. That is someone who is helping you to be adversarial with your spouse. And once you make up, think about that. How are they going to feel comfortable about what they've already said after they've dogged out your spouse? Your spouse is probably going to say, don't hang around with her anymore. Or don't hang around with him anymore. Because when we were having issues, that person came against me. Mm-hmm. How can that person be a friend of your marriage? Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes those relatives.
So that's a good point too. So let me ask you, because I'll say that I've dealt with some of these things myself. I am married, just in case y'all didn't know. Mm-hmm. That's the whole Jamal Rogers situation. So if you came to your marriage with friends, and then after you got married, your friends were not encouraging your marriage, what do you do about that? They're saying, hey, we've been friends since, such and such a year. We've been together all this time. How you going to choose her over me? How you going to choose him over me?
You mean the friend situation? How about the friend saying that?
Handle that.
Do you want to break it down?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I said that was easy.
Very easy. Bye-bye.
The reality, you're talking about a lifelong partner. Anybody that positions themselves as a ultimatum to that lifetime partner that you have, they're not your friend.
That's right. Because they want you to be happy with your partner.
Right. And they would try to do everything that they could to help you with that. Sometimes the friends that you had before then are actually jealous of what it is that you found, because what you're finding is apart from what you had with them. And maybe what you're doing is better off or making you better. I mean, let me put it this way. The ones that I had that were really my friends, it didn't take them long to see I was a better person with her than I had been without her. And years later, they still are marveling. Wow, man, I didn't even know you had that in you. I am so happy for Margaret, because they're seeing the positive impact that she's had on my life. I'm not going to go into all the stuff it is that I was before, because that's the old me, and it's dead.
It's dead.
And I thank God for that. But he used her to help me to evolve from it. And I'm always praising the Lord for the blessing and gift that she is for me because of that. Now, does that mean that in her being a blessing and a gift, that means that she's going to always make me smile, and she's going to always make me feel good about everything that's going on? Most times, yes, but there will be those other times that no. And the reality of it is those times where there is a discord, there is a contrasting emotion that's happening with us. It's going to pass. I know that. The storms will go past. And so, she's talking about how much it is that we have invested into this. For myself, God blessed me in answering my prayers to him with her. I am not looking forward to standing before God saying, oh, so you didn't like my blessing anymore? You decide you're going to go find your own? I'm not doing that.
Yeah, all things are past. That's right, sister.
Absolutely.
The other thing, though, you had talked about the friends of your marriage. I do believe that it's important that you start with yourselves.
Yes.
As a couple. In other words, you need to be a friend of your marriage. You have to make up in your mind that this is what you want.
Yes.
And that you are willing to fight for your marriage, not fight in your marriage, not fight your spouse. But even when you see that your spouse is challenging your relationship, that you're like, no, I'm not going to let you break us up either. I'm not going to let you be the one who break us up, because we're supposed to be together. I think that often what people need to do is revisit the vows that they made with the Lord. That's one of the exercises that we have with our couples. Let's go ahead and renew our vows. And I'm not saying not the old vows. Make the vows pertinent to who you are now, and determine that you want to move forward with the new creature that you are, whoever you are now, and establish, building your relationship.
Yes.
He talked about communication. There's another exercise that we have with couples, because what we found is that when we had differences, she said, aren't those rough times fewer when we age? We'll get to that. That's a good question.
It is.
What we found is that when we would have the arguments, we would talk over each other. So we talked about an exercise using the cup. And one of our couples really adapted that. I wish they were here. I don't know if they're here tonight, or the Sloans, but they testified or shared it with one of our group sessions. We have group sessions with couples, and we do it online. We actually started online before the COVID thing, by the way. But so we have the cup, and the way we, advise couples to use the cup is whoever has the cup gets to talk. You get into that practice. I'm not saying it's easy to adapt to, but what helps a relationship is when you're able to communicate, when you're able to feel that at this time I'm being heard. You don't have to agree with me, but do you hear me? Right? That's where it starts. Are you listening to me? And so the cup, like now I'm talking. And so when I give him the cup, then he can talk. Now he can't take the cup back from me, but he can ask for it. And so what I'm saying is, after you've done it, after
give me that cup
so much, get used to it, right? And you know when to talk and when not to talk. And sometimes, though, we don't talk with each other. Now he's going to explain to you something that honestly has been hard for me. And those are the times when I want to talk and he decides I'm not going to talk. And I'd like him to explain to the women, especially, why men do that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Is
that
okay to have that talk now?
She said she did a plastic cup, so you don't hit somebody with it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Words and not just in marriage, but especially in marriage, are some of the most powerful tools that you can use. You can use words to build. You can use words to heal. You can use words to cut. You can use words to correct. You can use words to do a lot of things. And one of the things that I believe maybe is just part of the dynamic of growing up, I believe that women are more adept at framing those words in whichever way it is that they want to. With men, we become more fixed people than articulating and deciding on how to talk about a certain thing. And so sometimes we don't have the right words that we need in order to express or respond to what's going on. At that point, what I've found for myself and many of the guys that I've actually worked with as well, the best thing for us is to shut it down, take a moment, take a pause, if you will. Think about what it is that's happening before it is that you begin to allow those words to flow again, because you don't want to bring a hammer to a situation that really requires a lot more finesse than that.
And so in the meantime, by the time he's ready to talk, I forgot what I was wanted to say.
And so sometimes that moment, that space actually helps.
Yeah.
So that you're not actually speaking in, an elevated or escalated stance. You're actually talking about things that you can work through. Now, what was the question that we were going to address about things going when you get older, that they become less frequent?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Aren't the rough times fewer as we age?
Okay. Yeah. I don't believe that they're necessarily fewer, but you begin to view them differently. You begin to see them as not being necessarily worth going off about. You see them as, okay, all right, is this really what I'm thinking about, what we're getting ready to do later on? You start thinking through the whole thing, and it's like, do I really want to do all that? Nah.
Yeah, in fact, to tell the truth, I realized as I got older that I worried about things more, regarding our children. I'm more responsible. I'm looking like, oh man, I have to get ready for this and I have to get ready for that. But my attitude towards it is different. And I believe that's definitely a lot with the Lord.
Sure.
It's like, God's got it.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself of it, that God's got it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like being older, at least for me, I paid more attention to the world. When I was younger, it was all about me. Mm-hmm. So I didn't pay as much attention to, things weren't as rough, because I was like, hey, live and let's have a little bit of fun right there. That's their problem. I might have been one of those ones who didn't wear a mask all the time until somebody pointed it out to me, But I do believe that, as he was mentioning, is that we have a different attitude in how we address things. One day that I realized was really a turning point, because like he said, he's a fix-it person. And we were going through something. And I said, well, what are we going to do about this? What? And he said, I don't know. And I just laughed. I'm like, now that's different. Because to me, I thought he knew everything. He said he didn't know. At that point, I'm like, okay, we are maturing. I don't know.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's what I think happens.
Doesn't know that?
That's right. That's the place you want to be when you get older, where you don't feel like you have to know everything in your marriage, in your relationship. That is a friend of your marriage.
Yes.
The attitude that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to fix everything. Everything in life is not your responsibility. And you feel much more comfortable in your relationship when you can think like that.
And I would add to that, I began to see what she can add to the situation so they can figure this thing out together. Me not knowing it didn't necessarily mean that we weren't going to have an answer. It just wasn't going to be just up to me. But yeah, she said decades. Okay.
What did she say? It took decades.
Different than women.
Decades to realize that men are truly
connectors rather than so-called negatives. Things work out better. Yes.
Yes. If we can. Okay. And I'm glad you said that. Like she said, if we can, that's why you need friends of your marriage. Because in all of the relationships, at times we we emphasize and amplify the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we get stuck on that.
Sure.
And it's toxic.
Yes.
And so a friend of your marriage will help you through that. A friend of your marriage will not accuse, but will guide you through and remind you who you are and who you want to be in your relationship.
Yes.
That's what friends of your marriage do. That's the type of community that we want to build.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Okay. And I just want to let everybody know that I have their information scrolling across the screen, and then I have it flashing on the screen, so you can go and check out their website and check out the Facebook page and see what they're all about. They have all kinds of cool stuff. There's some talented folks. They also have an animated series going on, and it's called Kicking It with the Sloans. You guys want to talk briefly about Kicking It with the Sloans and what that's about?
Yeah. We'll tell you how that came about.
Yeah, well, you can go ahead and tell them how it came about.
I'll tell you how it came about, and we'll elaborate how we use it.
Okay.
So one of the things we do with our sessions, besides having group sessions, we have individual couple sessions. With permission, we ask if we can record the sessions. We have a conference line, and we do that so that we can review it together, because a lot of times people want to be heard, and we found that it's distracting if you're taking notes, right? So we're able to be present with that couple. And yes, we're going to come back to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Keep that question up. And so what we found is that with this particular couple, when we were reviewing the conversation with them, I said they have a really interesting way of communicating, and it was kind of one of our sessions. And I said I had an idea and I wanted to bring it to them. So what I did was I just took a chunk of our conversation about, because one of the things we were counseling with them, coaching them about, was starting their own nonprofit. That was one of the things they wanted to do as a couple. We encourage couples to work together where you can and to be supportive of each other. So that was one of the conversations. So what I did was I put their voices on animations. And I said, I just wanted to show you something that you can use to help you discuss your issues every now and then, because the animation is like, a lot of people in mental health would use dolls or use puppets, but
like alter ego,
right? So that people can actually work through their situations in a way that's non-threatening and kind of fun, and just different ways. It doesn't have to be fun, but just so it's not focusing on them. I don't know why it works, but I know it does. So with that, I did the animation and showed them. They called us a few days later and say, we really like that. We'd like to do something with that. And we're like, well, what do you mean? And they we talked about it. Say, all right, let's do something with it. And so I getting the idea of calling it. I said, what do we call it? Well, what are they doing? We just kicking it with the Sloans, and told them about it. They say, I like that. I like that. So we just were messing around, and we would thought about how this could actually benefit couples. Mm-hmm. So we not only add the video, he did the scoring, and we were working together with the dialogue, and then we added questions in the end that people can reflect upon with the scenario. So many trainings, we do training, and they're scenario based. So this is couples scenario based instruction. And so it encourages people to dialogue and learn at the same time. So that's how it was launched. And
yes.
Okay.
So and again, it continues to be a opportunity, if you will, to not only raise questions, but to provide scenarios that don't necessarily have to be the ones it is that they've gone through, but we can actually use the different scenarios to dramatize things that you wondered about and actually help people find ways to talk through it. Again, communication is so huge. Sometimes we just get stuck and don't know how to even begin the discussion, if you will. And so Kicking It with the Sloans has given us an opportunity, another tool, if you will, to actually prompt some pretty meaningful discussions. And some of it has just been very lighthearted, so it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. But it's actually led to some things where people get pretty personal with the discussions as well. Now, with the question that is on the screen right now, I think that is so profound, because the reality of it is that, yes, we can come back from anything, but it requires something that I think is so essential that people underrate it, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness is our reset tool that we can use to break us free from either the guilt of something we did, the hurt that was caused, or the embarrassment of your not being able to succeed. You can come back from those things if it is that you're willing to forgive yourself, forgive one another, forgive others. You can use that reset tool to actually continue your journey. Having said that, I don't want to minimize at all. There are some things that are far more difficult to come back from than others. And I'm talking about things that we don't have the time to discuss about right now. When you're talking about things like incest, when you're talking about child abuse, there's a number of things. When you talk about infidelities, those things are harmful in three-dimensional, to put it lightly. They hurt on so many fronts. It not only takes the perseverance and intentionality to get past those things, but it does require patience.
You know, I think that question, when he asks, is there anything that you can't come back from? It is an individual and personal choice. It's like what I may decide. This is the boundary here, and you've gone too far outside those boundaries for me to come back. Somebody else may say, but I can forgive that and I can move past that, because, and whatever their reason is in their mind. So I think it's an individual choice. I also believe that if you have the mind to, you can come back from anything you want to come back from. It does, because I look at it from a biblical standpoint. You know, there was nothing that we were told to not be able to forgive. The only thing that God said he would forgive is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. So anything short of blaspheming the Holy Spirit, I believe you could come back from. Although even biblically, God allowed divorce because people's hearts were hardened. So there are some times when just to preserve, to protect your heart, you're like, maybe I could, but I just don't. I don't want to be that person who comes back from that, you know. Still, even if I got to that position, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to let him go off, and I'm not going to let him be happy with somebody else if he, if he decided to mess around or any of those things. Having said that, you might even have heard of the more public relationship with the Smiths, right? I'm just talking about it because it is. Jada Pinkett Smith had an affair with this young man, and Will Smith, but she had said in here, I'm dealing with her own words, it was during the time that they had been separated, right? Now, when you live your life in a fishbowl, when other people are around you, you can imagine there are a lot of enemies of their marriage. There are a lot of people who are saying, you shouldn't take that. You shouldn't get back together. They cheated on you and whatever. Then if you want to stay, I believe their marriage could be salvaged, right? But they're going to need to surround themselves with friends of their marriage. And it's going to need to be ongoing. And they're going to have to, insulate. And sometimes you can't let everybody be a part of your relationship. At some point, it has to be personal, but find those friends of your marriage that would help you to, feed into the healing of your marriage and help you to, just get away from the toxicity of whatever it is that was negative, whatever it is that caused you to maybe think that this is how far you can go and no further. Can you come back from this? Well, if you surround yourself with friends of your marriage, starting with you, I believe you can come back from just about anything. Yeah.
I would also say there has to be a willingness or forgiveness on both sides. And I can't stress this enough. There's also a forgiveness of yourself. You cannot love someone else while you're holding things against even yourself.
Mhm.
The forgiveness has to go for you so that you'll be free to love
Yeah.
the person it is that you're with. The forgiveness has to be for them so that you're not tied to a hurt that shouldn't define your relationship in the first place,
Mhm.
regardless of what it was. And so, yes, those things. And let me put it this way as well. The Smiths, and I don't know them personally. All I can say is that they've been together decades. They have decades of experiences.
1997. Right.
They've got decades of experiences
Mhm.
that they can reflect upon as reasons to hold
Mhm.
this thing together, as opposed to whatever that thing was that shouldn't have happened being the reason for it to all come down.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, you look at your relationship as an investment, you look at your relationship as a blessing. People make mistakes. People do things out of the stress or out of whatever, but it doesn't have to define your entire relationship.
Mhm.
Now, there may be people now that they made a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake. Now we find that it's not just a mistake, it's a pattern, it's a habit. Now, in some situations, you have, like I said, you have to take it individually. In a situation where a person is saying, "Oh, you know, I just have to do this thing. You know, I'm addicted to whatever that thing is, and it's destroying you as a person." Then I say, yeah, you might have to rethink that thing. Maybe you can't live together, you know, as husband and wife if it's something that's killing you. You know, that it is causing you to be less than you are and causing you to you know, just not function well. And, you know, and even when I say that, I'm not saying that people should use that as an excuse. Like, I'm not happy, quote unquote. It's not just about being happy. You find your happiness in the love that you have for each other. And, you know, and we can go on about that. What I'm saying is that I believe that if you really want to, and the other person really wants to, and you all decide that you can work this thing out together, yeah, I believe that you can move beyond that, whatever that is.
The journey is going to provide multiple seasons.
Yes.
And there'll be seasons of contrast. There'll be seasons of incredible joy, where you're experiencing things that are just, oh my goodness, this is just incredible. This is heaven. Well, there'd be times that you also feel like this is hell. The reality of it is that you don't necessarily experience any of them all the time, but you celebrate the heaven enough.
Yes.
So that once it is that you find yourself in a contrasting hell, you can get through it together.
You said contrasting hell and looked at me. You didn't look at me for the heaven part.
You are. You know that.
Was that subliminal?
That was me looking at you as to not. I mean, I you.
Okay.
I'm trying to breathe something into this.
Don't breathe. Don't miss it. Yeah, but no.
Dr. Margaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know there's so many different questions that people could possibly have in regards to relationships and marriage. So if you guys want to reach out and take a look at the different tools and just reach out to them, you see their the first one, idometoo.org. You can have access to their tools. idometoo.com. You'll be able to see their blog. And on Facebook, you can go to I Do Me Too, and you can get a hold of them that way and ask more in-depth questions.
And join our online group too, by the way. Our group sessions.
Which is by invitation only.
So again, reach out to them first. It's like
started looking like.
I told you I shaved.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. My friends told me that she's making me look better.
Hey, I took off my beard, but not. He got the mustache now.
Wow. I always has a mustache.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh my God. I told you this is fun and
yeah. That's all I'm saying. But yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, and hopefully
that's all.
now we're doing virtual. Like I said, we're online. We have our online sessions, and we're going to start a new group session. So if you're interested, you sign up, and we'll let you know what other nights we have. We keep our group sessions kind of small, though, just so you know. We don't have like 100 people because we want people to actually engage and talk and, you know, kind of have fun in that way. But just go online and you can sign up. So you join a group, and we'll let you know what evenings and what times that we're going to be getting together. Also, we just recently had our couples. We help couples to celebrate their anniversary.
Yeah.
We just had an anniversary celebration. The Nichols, who I heard was going to be a guest on your show, right? The Nichols, is that right?
We will be.
Yeah.
That is accurate. We will be talking to them soon.
Yes, we have wonderful couples, all of you, everybody, you know. So shout out to the Nichols and everything and all of the people. Our sister Gina, shout out to Gina.
So on Zoom.
Yes.
We primarily use Zoom. We use more than one platform, but Zoom is the primary one. It just helps to facilitate the tools that we need to cause everybody to be interactive and to share things, show presentations and things like that. So, right now that's what we're using.
Yeah. Okay. And we're planning, we were planning a travel thing. We'll see what happens with that.
Not in this COVID-19.
Thanks to COVID-19.
Yes.
But so we are getting close to that hour mark, but I gotta say that I truly appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your stories.
Thank you for having us.
Tools, which I know you have. You guys are so funny. Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay. Congratulations.
Do you want us to help you celebrate virtual with you? Our sister's anniversary. That's our sister Gina. Her anniversary is Wednesday. Happy anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll definitely help you to celebrate that, little sis. Let us know what you want us to do. We'll work it out.
Yeah. Virtuoso. Together since 2007. All right. Look at you, newlywed. That's right.
So,
let us know. We love to help
guys for making it. So again,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, daughter.
We like to celebrate. Don't apologize. So you guys can look and see. You got the idome2.org. Look at their site and the tools that they have. idome2.com. Take a look at their blogs. And on Facebook, I Do Me Too. I mean, they have so much to offer. It's just truly amazing how talented you guys are.
And make sure you get in there and order your cup.
And yes, they do have some gear. So go on there and check it out. You'll see actually some stuff on there. You want to get some pure, some cups and journal things. And we will have more coming. So yes, absolutely, this is great. And then as you can see at the bottom of my information, you can go to agentjamal.com.net. I own them both. Thank you. And you can go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on all that stuff, and I'll do more stuff. So you shall see. And I want you guys to remember to appreciate God's perfect design, which is you. That's what pure is all about. Perfectly defined, raw elegance. You're perfectly undefined because God makes us all unique.
Yes.
Raw elegance, because like they said, naked. You are who you are, and it is okay because God made you who you are on purpose. It is not a mistake.
All right.
And elegant about it.
Hey.
Okay. She asked for their bumper stickers. I don't remember seeing bumper stickers. I don't know.
On the site.
Honk if you love I Do Me Too. Be a friend of it. You're a friend of our marriage.
I don't know.
Yeah, bumper stickers. All right. Just if you see the bumper, make sure you don't hit our car.
We can work on that.
We can work on the bumper stickers.
We can work on that.
Tried to read too close.
Okay. Hilarious. All right. So again, if you guys are interested in getting assistance with your marriage, go ahead and visit idome2.org. idometoo.com or idometoo on Facebook. And come back next week for another episode of Pure Live. Next week, we will have Minister Joseph McNeil, who is an officer, who's going to help speak on some things that are going on today. That's all these good shows.
All right.
So thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank
Love
you.
you
Love
all.
you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
And remember to be friends of your marriage and find friends of your marriage. Okay.
Amen.